that. Yeah. Mike, it's definitely great to have you on the show. Uh, I've got my friend Sheldon, one of the co-hosts at New Jack Swing Podcast.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Good, good.
Yes, yes. Okay. One of our colleagues, Stevie, he just did some radio shows, so he's not able to make it today. But anyway, yeah, so as we always do when we start with halftime chat, we always like to find out where our guest is sort of born and raised.
Okay, yeah. So for me, obviously I was raised in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Okay.
I'm from Virginia, born and raised here. My parents are from here. My dad grew up here. My mom grew up in Norfolk. So Virginia Beach is my hometown. I'm born and raised, and it's not a lot about Virginia Beach. I can't tell you.
I mean, for some those of us who, I mean, I only knew about Virginia Beaches when Teddy moved out there. But prior to,
Right.
yeah, and then the whole future stuff. But prior to that, though, what was Virginia Beach like growing up
Well, yeah,
for you?
yeah, that's the thing. Virginia Beach prior to the Future Records movement or the music industry, coming here through Teddy or exposing this area to that, I'll say, it was just very because you got to remember this is a slave state. So
Wow.
like slavery was big here. Like even if you look at like my father and he had generations of slavery in his life where his grandfather and his father and they would pass down the land that the slave owner would leave to the different slaves.
Wow.
So this area is really like my dad can tell me stories of him still having to go into the back door to work in Virginia Beach when he was a teen. So, it was like it's different because even when I grew up, Virginia Beach predominantly white. I would say that as far as the culture, okay, because of racism and because of slavery and all those things. So when you get the black people to come to Virginia Beach, it was different because most of the black people um, migrated to Norfolk. Okay, so it was more of a black area in that sense. Norfolk is more of a black area than Virginia Beach, where Virginia Beach is more like I said, it was more predominantly white area. So, my father was the first person in his family to go to college. So he attended Norfolk State University, got his bachelor's in accounting, went to the military, came out, and he was an accountant for the government in the Department of Defense. So he I guess you would say beat the odds in the sense that we lived in a white neighborhood. He was making, 50, $60,000 back then, which was a lot of money,
Wow.
At that time. So we had a different lifestyle than say my aunts or people that I would see when my mom grew up in Norfolk. You know what I'm saying? So I knew early there was a difference between Virginia Beach and Norfolk. So Virginia Beach was definitely a melting pot of culture because you had the military too, as well. So when we started going to school, you're talking about going to school with, Filipino kids, white kids, black kids, all types of different races. So it was a different cultural experience that we had in Virginia Beach. And I think that helped to shape, beyond just the fact that music industry came here, the way we thought about music and the way we were exposed to it, because we had different things that we were exposed to in Virginia Beach versus other cities that may not have had that type of exposure in our area.
Then, what was your interest in music as a kid, growing up?
Now, for me, even in the group when I was, a part of the Neptunes and everything, I was kind of like the church guy, the guy that had the church piece, the element of the church, that vocal soul, you know what I mean? That church thing, because again, when I was 6 months old, I actually was adopted by my parents. But from that point, from that point on, I was exposed to church. So at a young age, but I didn't know I had a gift of singing. Obviously, they didn't know that, but or music, you know what I mean. So, but God knew that, so He placed me in the right environment to be nurtured and cultured, and so I started out in church, and we had a musician by the name of Andrew Williams, who was my first, I guess you could say, teacher, music teacher, but it was church. So I started out in the choir, young, and I'm singing. I remember I would be singing at 6 years old. I was up on the stage singing like the old hymns and stuff, and everybody standing up. from the church clapping their hands. And they're like, wait a minute, this kid's different. So it was a song called Said I Wasn't Gonna Tell Nobody, but I couldn't keep it to myself or something like that. So one Sunday I'm singing that in Sunday school and everybody's on their feet. And I think they kind of realized at that point, this guy's different. But that was my musical exposure, was church. You know, you dealing with, and in Virginia, church was big back then. Back then church was community. Everything revolved around the church. Whereas now it's different. But back then, if you were a part of a local church somewhere in our community. So that was the music part of it. And I fell in love with gospel music and just the sound of it, the organ, the drums, the feeling and all of that. So that was my musical. And then I had my aunts too, who because we didn't play much music outside of Christian music in the home, but I got exposed to like Aretha Franklin, C.L. Franklin, Sam Cooke. These were gospel artists at first, you know. So I'm hearing them come through that. And I'm absorbing all of that. Then my aunts are playing like Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson. When I go over there, they got all the records. So I'm going to go through the whole Motown collection. So I'm getting exposed to Marvin Gaye. And then they had a real vast palette for music. So Barbra Streisand and Barry Manilow and Hall and Oates. I'm young though. I'm around 7 or 8 years old, but these are the things I'm exposed to. So I was cultured musically, diversely, but mainly with gospel music. Yeah. I mean, and hip hop and all of it, man. But gospel was the driving force.
I mean, and then in those days now, what was it for you when you were thinking about music though? Were you thinking that you could take it further, or was it just like, just?
I believe it was a dream. It was a dream because even before I met Pharrell and the Neptunes, before we became a group, before any of that, before we knew Teddy and all that, I'm in my room. I would write down the lyrics to all of the songs, like all of the songs. I remember the song "Secret Lovers."
Oh yes, that's exciting.
R&B record. Yeah, so I wrote down all the lyrics. And I would sing them back to my mom. She's like, "Oh, this is so nice." And then my uncles, they would, bring like hip hop stuff for like Rappin' Duke, da ha, Lottie Dottie, We Like to Party, just Biz Markie, the whole Juice Crew. So I would write down everything, whether it was Guy, but I didn't know who they were. I was just a young kid in my room, just loving music, man. So I would write down all the lyrics and then rehearse those records and learn them. Like, it's funny because Tony from High Five was one of my favorite groups. With I Like the Way and the Kissing Game and all that. And then, I used to meditate on that record, bro. Like, and it's so funny because I ended up meeting him and meeting Teddy and all of that. And it just was like an alignment, God had a plan, man. And it was, we didn't know he was going to come to Virginia, but obviously each of us, myself, Pharrell, Chat, all of us were being cultured somehow musically, preparing us for whatever we would experience once we did get that opportunity.
Hey, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. If you loved what you watched, there's over 100 artists that we've interviewed. So please check out the videos. Remember to like, share, how not unsubscribe. But better still, become a member of Halftime Chat and get exclusive videos ahead of time. But thanks for watching. Take care.